Let's talk about Fergie and what's going to happen with her, because the reports are that King Charles has vowed to protect Beatrice and Eugenie, whereas Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, faces life without her title, Duchess of York. Of course, she agreed not to use it after Prince Andrew relinquished his Duke title after the ongoing fallout with Jeffrey Epstein.
When London nights begin to fall silent, some stories still make noise, and that Thursday evening was exactly like that. Buckingham Palace made an announcement that would shake all of Britain. There was no countdown, no warning, just one statement, one decision that became history. Prince Andrew's titles, his royal identity.
Prince Andrew, we are being told, has decided to relinquish all of his royal titles.
His status, everything vanished in a single moment. By morning, he was no longer Prince Andrew. He became Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a name that carried no royal position. But here's the real question. This wasn't about what happened to Andrew. The real question was, what will happen to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie? Two daughters thrust into headlines because of their father, yet guilty of nothing themselves. Their future now hung like a long question mark. Every newspaper in Britain, every news channel circled around this single point. The Daily Mail dedicated 15 pages to this issue alone. Sky News called it a royal decapitation, meaning the royal house had lost its head. From BBC to front pages, this was everywhere. This wasn't just a scandal. This was an entire branch being removed from existence. The women behind the decision. Now the question rises. Who made this call? From what leaked inside Buckingham, the biggest revelation was this. This wasn't just King Charles's decision. Behind it stood two other powerful names. Queen Camilla and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Two women who rarely appeared together, but this time united for one mission. Their goal was clear. Save the monarchy, no matter whose reputation falls. Senior palace sources said Catherine told the king in plain words, as long as Andrew holds royal privileges, the monarchy's future isn't safe. And Camilla supported this with full force. Both knew the public would tolerate no more. By 7 p.m., the statement was ready. Cold, precise, and devastatingly clear. His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, Duke of York, has been stripped of his military affiliations and royal patronages. He will continue as a private citizen.
With the Queen's approval and agreement, the statement says, the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages have been returned.
Translation: he's out permanently. No comeback. The public's reaction wasn't shock. It was relief. LBC radio callers called it justice delayed. People said Andrew had been living in luxury on taxpayers' money for years. The time had come for accountability. Royal Lodge, a 30-room Windsor mansion where Andrew lived, was now being emptied. Staff dismissed, privileges revoked. For the first time in modern royal history, a senior royal was being exiled this way. But what Britain was thinking about wasn't just Andrew's downfall. The real focus now shifted to Beatrice and Eugenie. Two young women living with grace and dignity, now carrying a toxic surname. They did nothing wrong, a palace insider told The Telegraph. But they're paying the social price. When a father's fall becomes a family's burden. By the weekend, Windsor was drowning in an eerie silence. Everything looked normal from outside, but inside a storm was raging. Staff were seen coming and going from Royal Lodge, boxes being stacked, delivery vans arriving, no official statement from the palace. A Windsor neighbor reported, the blinds stayed shut all night. We watched staff leave. It felt like the house lost its soul. By Friday evening, it was confirmed. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor had to leave his grace and favor home. His personal belongings, military memorabilia, family photographs, all sent to storage. The Times confirmed the king himself gave the instruction. Andrew won't return to any royal residence anytime soon. And then another blow landed. Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, also quietly packed her things and left. Fergie, whose name was always tied to controversies, was now silently exiting. Remember that sting operation where she asked for £500,000 for access to Andrew? That scandal now weighed on her entire life. When Andrew's titles went, Fergie's influence vanished too. Charities cut partnerships, brand deals evaporated, her calendar went blank. She's not toxic by herself, a PR expert told The Telegraph, but she's radioactive by association. Within 48 hours, the entire York family branch was outside the inner circle. The financial implications were staggering. Insiders said Andrew was offered a low six-figure settlement to leave Royal Lodge, which could shrink further due to unpaid repair costs. A man accustomed to luxury was now facing real-time humiliation. And in between, Beatrice and Eugenie watched their family name on front pages every morning for all the wrong reasons. "Imagine seeing your surname in scandal every single day," said a friend of the sisters. "They did everything right, built their careers, maintained dignity. But when your name is York, nothing changes." But here's the most interesting part. Beatrice and Eugenie always lived differently. Neither took a single penny from the public purse. Their taxpayer-funded security was removed at 18. Both found work. Beatrice in finance and tech investments, Eugenie in the art world and anti-slavery projects. They were, by definition, modern working women who just happened to be born with titles. A former royal staffer said bluntly, "If they weren't Andrew's daughters, they'd be exactly what the monarchy wants: responsible, discreet, hardworking. But with his scandal attached, even breathing becomes judgment." By the weekend, public sympathy for the sisters began growing. On social media, people noted Beatrice and Eugenie had quietly lived respectable lives, stayed away from cameras, didn't sell interviews, created no drama. "These aren't Meghan," one post read. "They're not crying on talk shows. They're just trying to exist." But whisper campaigns had already begun inside royal circles. Rumors suggested the sisters might voluntarily withdraw from royal duties. Some said they might even renounce their titles to protect themselves. This speculation hit hard because it wasn't coming from tabloids, it was coming from people close to the palace. Royal historian Andrew Mountbatten said on a morning show, "We could see the daughters distancing themselves completely. The York name is now a liability." He added, "They might follow Princess Anne's example, who gave her children no royal styles or titles, and their lives have been happier for it." This comparison was powerful. Princess Anne, respected, unflinching, has always been the royal family's quiet moral compass. Hard-working, duty-first, scandal-free. When commentators began calling the York sisters the new Annes, it signaled something was shifting. But not everyone at the palace saw it that way. "If Beatrice and Eugenie step away completely, it'll look like another fracture," a former courtier said. "After Harry and Meghan, Charles can't afford another public retreat." But those close to the sisters insist this isn't rebellion, this is survival. They're proud of their grandmother's legacy. "Loyal to the crown," a friend told the Mirror. But they know the public will never separate them from their father unless they do it themselves. By Sunday morning, the story had shifted from scandal to survival. The York family name, once draped in velvet and ceremony, now carried the stench of disgrace. But behind the palace gates, something unexpected was happening. Beatrice and Eugenie weren't hiding, they were working. Royal watchers noticed the contrast immediately. "While their father retreats into silence," the Telegraph wrote, "his daughters have simply gone to work." Beatrice was back at her London office, attending meetings about tech investments. Eugenie was seen entering the Art Foundation, where she manages anti-trafficking projects. No press statements, no sympathy tours, no interviews, just routine. "They've always understood that work is their shield," an insider said. "They know they can't erase the name York, but they can redefine it." Yet the question still hung in the air. Could they ever escape their father's shadow? According to multiple royal correspondents, Beatrice and Eugenie have long been viewed as half-insiders. Not quite working royals, not quite private citizens. They attend some family events, but draw no salary from the sovereign grant. Their security was removed as adults. Their husbands, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi and Jack Brooksbank, earn their own income. A palace aide said, "They have titles without privileges." And now that halfway existence was about to end. A new phrase began circulating among journalists and courtiers: the voluntary renunciation. Its polite meaning, the sisters could, at some point, step down from their titles completely. "This isn't unprecedented," royal historian Ed Owens said on TV. "We've seen such moves in Europe. Monarchies are slimming down, younger members becoming private citizens. It's practical, it's moral, and honestly, it's inevitable. When reform becomes survival." For Beatrice and Eugenie, the timing couldn't be more delicate. The public, exhausted by royal excess, now craved humility. King Charles's project, a slimmed-down monarchy, fewer titles, fewer handouts, fewer scandals, was setting a new tone. If the sisters quietly exited the royal system, it wouldn't be rebellion. It would be alignment. But inside the palace, opinion was divided. Some advisors feared such a move would signal weakness, another Windsor defection after Harry and Meghan. Others argued the opposite. Voluntary withdrawal could save the monarchy from itself. Beatrice and Eugenie could be the modern face of royal reform, a retired equerry said. They work. They pay taxes. They live in the real world. They're not rebels. They're the example the monarchy should follow. This wasn't the first time royal women were caught between duty and damage control. Decades ago, Princess Anne made a similar choice, refusing titles for her children. "She got it right," one commentator wrote. "Her children have lived freer, better lives because of it." The comparison resonated deeply. Anne, hardworking, private, stoic, represents the kind of royal modern Britain still respects. Many felt Beatrice and Eugenie were now walking Anne's path. Not from rebellion, from necessity. Sources say both sisters have discussed simplifying their roles privately. One aide described it as a graceful retreat rather than resignation. Another went further. "They won't make an announcement. They'll just fade out. That's how you protect dignity in this family." The palace, as usual, denies any official talks. But the tone among insiders has changed. What was once unthinkable, royals stepping back without scandal, now feels like strategy. Still, emotion lingers behind the diplomacy. Friends describe Eugenie as heartbroken over how her father's name defines her. "She loves him as a daughter," one source said, "but she can't carry his mistakes forever." Beatrice, the elder, is reportedly more pragmatic. "She's learned to compartmentalize," another said. "She believes the best revenge is stability. Keep working, keep quiet, let history decide." Meanwhile, tabloids began turning their curiosity into admiration. Headlines once cruel softened. The Daily Mail called them beautiful daughters caught in a storm not of their making. Even social media, usually brutal toward Windsor women, began posting sympathy. "At least these two are doing something useful," a viral tweet read. The irony wasn't lost on observers. In a family obsessed with titles, the two willing to give theirs up had become the most respected. Then, Monday morning arrived, and with it came a book, The Rise and Fall of the House of York. Author Andrew Mountbatten had spent 4 years researching. He'd interviewed hundreds of sources, double-checked every story lawyers would allow. The result? A portrait of decay. A family once seen as glamorous, now crumbling under its own privilege. This wasn't another tabloid exposé. This book put into words what Britain had long suspected, that the York branch had become the monarchy's cautionary tale. From Prince Andrew's unchecked arrogance to Fergie's endless reinventions, Loney wrote, the family lost sight of service. It became a house built on entitlement, not duty. As dawn broke, social media filled with outrage, fascination, and surprisingly, pity. Not for Andrew or Fergie, for Beatrice and Eugenie.
Now, what about Princess Beatrice and Eugenie? They've, of course, fled the UK and are reportedly barely holding it together, Josh.
Those poor girls, one tweet read, paying for sins they didn't commit. For years, the sisters had walked the fine line between privilege and humility. They'd been mocked for their hats, teased about their royal weddings, forgotten when bigger dramas took over. But now, as the public looked closer, something different appeared. Two women who had quietly chosen work over wealth, decency over drama. They're the first Yorks who've actually earned respect, said a palace source who's known them since childhood. They didn't sell stories. They didn't run. They're just trying to live. The curse of a name. But the curse of the York name, what commentators now call the shadow of entitlement, still hung over them. The more distance they tried to create, the more the past clung to them. Loney's book reopened old wounds. Its chapters detailed Andrew's decade as trade envoy, trips allegedly filled with excess, questionable business ties, and behavior even government officials tried to bury. It didn't portray Andrew as a victim. It showed him as a man consumed by access and appetite. When Loney was asked about the fallout on Sky News, he didn't hold back. Andrew broke the contract between the crown and the public. The monarchy survives on trust. When you exploit that for personal pleasure, you break something sacred. These words struck a nerve. Good Morning Britain commentators echoed the sentiment. This isn't just Andrew's story, one guest said. It's the story of what happens when royalty forgets responsibility. And that's exactly what Beatrice and Eugenie are now fighting to repair. By mid-morning, new photographs of the sisters began circulating online. Beatrice walking briskly through central London, head down, clutching a leather folder. Eugenie stepping into a gallery event, smiling politely at photographers, shouting questions she pretended not to hear. The captions were sympathetic, almost reverent. The York daughters carrying on, and then came a surprising twist. A friend of the sisters gave a rare brief quote to the Telegraph. They've made a decision to focus entirely on what they can control: their work, their families, and their privacy. They're not speaking publicly, but that silence is their statement. This was the first sign of what one royal insider called a quiet rebellion. Unlike Harry and Meghan, there would be no documentaries, no interviews, no memoirs. The York sisters' form of defiance was to live better, to prove that dignity could still exist without titles or palaces. Not everyone at the palace saw it that way. Some think they're distancing themselves too much, a former equerry said. But others say they're doing exactly what the monarchy needs, showing restraint, showing normality. Still, the timing was cruel. Every headline about Andrew dragged them back into the frame. Every whisper of his return, however baseless, risked undoing the quiet credibility they'd built. They love their father, a friend said, but they can't carry his ghosts forever. By Sunday night, as the final papers for the King's slimmed-down monarchy review were being prepared, Beatrice and Eugenie's names were nowhere to be found. Not revoked, not punished, just gone. This was the monarchy's most elegant form of exile, erasure by omission. And yet, in a strange way, that absence became their redemption. Sometimes, columnist Genoir wrote, the most royal thing you can do is simply step back and behave. As Monday approached, the message was clear. The York curse might have started with excess, but it could end with grace. Two women, quiet and steadfast, standing amid the ruins of their father's name, refusing to shout, refusing to flee. Because sometimes survival in the House of Windsor isn't about keeping your crown. It's about knowing exactly when to take it off. By Monday morning, the story had reached its quiet crescendo. No dramatic press conferences, no royal speeches, no final photograph outside the gates. The purge that began with Andrew ended not with scandal, but with silence. And yet, within that silence, a new rhythm had started beating. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, two daughters once trapped under their father's disgrace, had somehow rewritten the ending. The official review from Buckingham Palace arrived after sunrise. A new structure for the monarchy, fewer active members, fewer public roles, and a stronger focus on transparency and service. This was the future King Charles had always imagined: neat, efficient, self-sustaining. But between the lines, observers noticed something else. The York sisters' names were absent, not cut, not disgraced, simply omitted. A quiet, deliberate omission that spoke volumes. In the world of royal politics, that kind of silence isn't punishment. It's permission. Permission to walk away, to live freely, to redefine what being royal means. While morning news shows replayed Andrew's downfall for the 1,000th time, royal correspondents began changing their tone. "The real story now," said one commentator on Sky News, "is how Beatrice and Eugenie have handled these past weeks. They didn't fight for titles, they didn't ask for sympathy, they just carried on." The public noticed too. Social media filled with messages praising the sisters' restraint. "They've done what the monarchy itself has struggled to do for decades: show dignity," one post read. "They're the face of what the royal family could be if it stopped clinging to the past." And perhaps that's why, as the sun rose over Windsor, the sisters' silence felt less like retreat and more like renewal. Royal insiders say the king respects their decision to remain private. Princess Anne reportedly told a friend she admired them. "They've chosen the harder path," she said, "but it's the right one." Anne's fingerprints are visible on this generation's quiet reformation. Decades ago, she refused titles for her children, choosing substance over ceremony. Her son Peter and daughter Zara grew up independent, grounded, respected. And now, all these years later, her nieces are walking the same path. Not from rebellion, from wisdom. That choice, in the end, may be what saves the family name. Because while the monarchy trims its ranks and polishes its image, it's these quieter figures, those who don't crave cameras or crowns, who remind Britain why it still cares. "The sisters have done what the palace couldn't," historian Ed Owen said. "They've restored decency without saying a word. They've made the monarchy human again." As Monday afternoon turned to evening, the storm over Windsor began to fade. Headlines softened. The frenzy ebbed. The House of York, once synonymous with scandal, was no longer collapsing. It was healing, piece by piece, through the quiet grace of its youngest heirs. And maybe that's the story that truly matters. Not the exile, not the disgrace, the choice. Two women who decided that honor doesn't need a crown to exist. Perhaps Diana would have smiled at that. Because in a royal world obsessed with bloodlines and hierarchies, Beatrice and Eugenie have proven that the truest form of legacy isn't inherited. It's earned. The palace gates are closed tonight. The reporters have gone home. But somewhere inside, two women have done the unthinkable, turned scandal into survival, and survival into something stronger: dignity. And as Britain moves into a new royal era, one thing is certain: the story of the York sisters is not an ending. It's a beginning of something that might just define what royalty means in this century. If you followed every twist of this royal reckoning, don't blink now. The House of Windsor is changing before our eyes. And the next chapter, it might be the most surprising yet. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Because after this storm, something extraordinary is about to happen.